Hey, welcome everyone to the One Moment Podcast. I'm your boy and your co-host Kevin, and we have an amazing young lady on our show today. And it's interesting because she's been on our show before, and she's very brilliant, talented, knowledgeable, all of those things. And she does a lot in the community. Now, let me preface this. We were talking around the time we did a episode on violence toward others, and I reached out to her and like, hey, let's get you back on the show. And we were trying to figure out what we were talking about. And it's interesting because I feel like I'm in a bipolar manic state. She's got some stuff going on with her, and we're talking about human connection, love, kindness, and all of these things, right? And mentally, I'm chaotic right now. I'm just saying. So, but I am grateful that she was able to come back on and let's have a great conversation. And let's try to heal the human connection here. I mean, there's a huge social problem with with the lack of human connection between us. And uh, but her name is Alisa Gracheva. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, sweet, sweet. So she needs no introduction, but I will let her introduce herself. I am going to have some compassion on that, and definitely let's jump into it and see where this thing goes. Because yeah, I mean, we all need human connection. We all need compassion and kindness.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's so nice to be on here again, and it's always a pleasure to connect with you. Yes, it's funny how sometimes we're thinking about a topic and then understanding the state we're in, because again, we're all humans, and sometimes we have not the best days and not the best moods, but yet we're all have to go out there and be of service again. And I think it's a great lesson. I wouldn't say a test, but type of a test, right? To be overcoming certain human conditions that we can be facing, whether it's environmental, personal, biological, psychological. There's so many different ways. And yes, navigating hormonal imbalances in my case can be a little brutal. And I know a lot of women can understand that. And I think it's a really good, really test of patience to not do something that can get you in big trouble or imprisoned or things of that nature, because hormones can be really intense. But I'm joking, of course. But I think it's a great way to really reassess and see how well we can practice what we preach, especially for those of us who are providers, service providers or family providers. There's so many different roles that we have, and all of the people we love dear to us and people we work with and for. I think navigating those very difficult times that we're personally can be facing, whether no matter the reason why we're dealing through that, I think it's a great power to be able to overcome that and to really be kind rather than acting on something that's really pressing inside of ourselves. So it's a superpower to be able to do that. And I think it's creating this kind of conditioning for ourselves to really vibrate on a higher level of consciousness and in general just be more I wouldn't say enlightened, I think this word is overused, but really choose a different path, higher road, so to say. But yes, it's a difficult challenge for many of us. So yeah, let's talk about kindness when we're struggling to give it to ourselves sometimes, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We do struggle to give it to ourselves, and it's interesting that you say that because I typically teach people that communication is a three-way street, not a two-way street, right? And yeah, you
Mhm.
and I can have a conversation that's a two-way street, but what's the most important piece of this communication?
Mhm.
Communication with ourselves, right? I have to have compassion to for myself. I have to love myself. I have to, have that self-awareness, that self-acceptance. I mean, all of those things, right? In order to even begin to really converse with you one on one, or however you want to
Mhm.
do it, three on one or whatever, right? This in the most simplistic, some simple form of that is just being able to communicate with myself allows me to connect with others. Without that, then I'm really am I really having authentic connections or authentic relationships?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and being honest and really owning certain things that we have to deal with and looking at it, with an open mind as well. And I think learning to forgive ourselves as well for the past, because I think a lot of times we become the prisoners of those experiences that can give us shame, guilt, feelings of hopelessness in a way, something we are ourselves are responsible for. Maybe some other people did to us that we allowed to take place too. And then from that form, if we give those parts of ourselves that are wounded, that are maybe still healing, or maybe they're still hurting a lot, I think that can give a lot of, again, self-compassion, and from that, because I don't think we can give someone else compassion and understanding and empathy if we don't give it to ourselves. It always starts with us. And even if we think that, you know what, I'm irrelevant, let me just go there, where are we focusing? We're distracting from the most important work. So you're absolutely, I agree with you 100%. It always starts with us. It doesn't matter the intention of the fact that we want to serve, we want to be there for others. If we're not good to ourselves, we can't provide the service at the full capacity, at 100% of our potential. But if we carry ourselves and take good care of ourselves and we respect who we became because of all of these experiences that we've had, we forgive ourselves and move forward, then we can really do the service we're meant to provide. It always starts with us. So absolutely, having that self-compassion through self-communication, being honest and open and not judging. And there's so many different factors to that. And yeah, I agree with you. But what helps you to develop that? Are you on the path? Did you do that already for yourself? What was your journey, Kevin?
Ooh, you had to take a personal question, didn't you? Ooh.
Mhm.
So, what helped me to have authentic conversation with me? Um, I don't know. I mean, it started out about 13 years ago, 13, 14 years ago. I'm sitting there on the back of my mom and dad's back porch, smoking a cigarette. I don't know, 7, 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, drinking on some coffee. And I always like to say that's where my first spiritual experience happened. Now, I don't know if it was a spiritual experience or not, but I literally saw my whole life. So you ever saw those movies where people like whenever they pass away, it'll be like the whole life comes in like different clips and recordings and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So it was just like that, exactly to a T, where it was like clips of this, clips of that, clips of this, clips of that, and I'm just sitting there watching it just roll, and I'm like, man. Then it hit me that you're looking at a dishonorable discharge from the military. You've got nothing to show for yourself. You've wasted all this money. You've blew everything that you've had on a lot of things, various negative, harmful things. Like, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want your life to be? What do you want to be recognized or known for? When you're, you know, in the rawest terms, when you're 10 toes up. And that's where it hit me. I'm like, dude, like I can't keep going down this path. And so through that f- initial experience, I set out on a journey of self discovery where I literally learned to, uh, for me, it was getting to a level that it is okay for me to be whoever I am,
Yeah.
regardless of external consequences and circumstances. Um, and it still continues to evolve to this day. Um, and because of that, I do feel authentic. I don't feel bound by social standards and social norms that tells me, oh, you have to believe this, you have to think this, you have to do this. And if you do this, or if you don't do this, then you're just that and a third, and you're a rebellious person. Well, I guess then parts of me is a rebellious person. So that's kind of where my journey started for me to get that level of self-acceptance, self-determination, like self everything, having that self-love and self-compassion.
Yeah.
Now,
And how did your life change after that? What with this understanding, what happened next?
uh, I'd say a lot of changes, occurred. I mean, it was the ability to really place myself in other people's shoes. It was becoming more spiritual, having or walking a spiritual journey, being able to actually have genuine relationships with other people, rather than, you know, wearing a mask, right? One of
Mhm.
the spiritual books that I study, it tells me that, um, I live a double life, and I'm not talking about scripture here, but the scripture actually, the Holy Bible actually speaks on this, but I'm not talking about that. One of the
Mhm.
spiritual books I read, it tells me that I live a double life. Now, to this world, I put on the stage character that I want people to see, to believe in, but yet on the inside, I know I don't. I'm not that person. And it was looking at myself from that hard lens of, well, do you want to continue doing this? Do you want to continue being the stage character, or do you just want to be who you are? Regardless of other people. I've had people still to this day tell me that, oh, well, this is going to happen if you don't do this. And it's like, oh, wow. But it took a lot of work. It did.
Yeah, of
100%. It
course.
took a lot of work. And today it's either people like me or they don't. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I think it always will be, isn't it? There
Now I'm gonna
always
throw
gonna
it
be
back in your
people.
court. How
Yes. What do you wanna
no,
ask
go
me,
ahead.
sir? No, I was saying about that, it's always gonna be people who like you and don't like you, and I think we're always served even those people who may not like us for whatever reason, I don't think it's worth even going and trying to convince them otherwise. Because I know I've been that person, I'm like, "But I'm not a bad person, I don't mean bad," I wanna go and explain myself and try to make connection, and I think sometimes we have to realize that even being a villain in someone else's story, it's still serving them well because they can learn something from that. Whether they will or not, it's not our path, but we're learning to let go and not try to focus on something that, again, we all know if we're trying to convince someone of something else that we believe in, it's probably not going to work. And we have a lot of areas in life that people get very conflicted with one another and it's not leading anywhere. I think surrendering this need to be good for everybody is a very liberating moment. For me, at least, for sure. Learning about that through myself and through other people too, and releasing that grip of being liked by everyone, I think, was a really big deal. And now I appreciate every role people assign to me and understanding that they're entitled of their opinion, even their opinion about me, but that doesn't make it true and what my truth is and trying to focus on those people who actually want the connection, the one, something from that service or consultation or friendship and insight and integrating that, just like you said, as hard work, right? To be able to, when we understand, we get that magical moment of realization, that epiphany that happens. But that's not what we're striving for. What we're striving for is how do we integrate that later on down the line? Because yes, it's going to be a lot of work and we have to put in some effort in order to get to a new space with a new understanding. Because oftentimes we know better when we don't do better. And it's our responsibility when we know better to actually put an effort to do better in whatever area we discover that in. So for me, there's so many. It's so many lessons. Even this year was very rough. Life gave me very hard experiences to go through. It was 2 cycles that destroyed me completely, completely, physically too. And one was just recently. It ended a month and a half ago, and I had only 2 people who knew in depth what was going on because they were trying to nurture me back to life when I was on the floor and I had awful physical symptoms. I was just destroyed from the experiences that really bad people put me through. And I gotta say, it was a really interesting moment to observe how faith plays into that. And again, I'm not going into the same in any scriptures or anything like that, but I think having that trust when nothing goes right, this is the biggest challenge for us when we're talking about, again, having that faith, because it's very hard to have when things happen to us on the level that it's really a disaster. It's really unfair. It's bad. Is destroying your whole entire life and moving forth and not accumulating the same thing that you were treated with, this kind of and lies and people who are trying to do a lot of harm and awful when they see and they know they're doing harm, but they're still continue to do that for you. To me, it's mind blowing because I don't operate like that. That's why even though I felt something was wrong, right, it was fraud that unfortunately I became a part of. And I felt it. I couldn't believe it because for me, I'm like, that can't be true. Like people cannot be so heartless because I'm not like that. And so afterwards, when you get hurt, and I can see how people can deviate from their path, and it's like, well, hurt people, right? Let me go on and try to do the same thing for others or whatever the case. We're taking that onto something. And it was very interesting process, very difficult process. And I think I'm still integrating that, but not allowing myself to do the same things that those people were inflicting, the pain they were bringing to me, and really allowing that to dissipate and coming back to the nature of me, right? Treating people with kindness, still seeing the bigger picture and the chaos. Navigating that from that higher space was not easy, but it gave me the recovery that was so much quicker than most of the people will go through. And I was so grateful to observe that within myself that if I truly remain centered with my own values, with my morals, with what I believe and how people should be treated, no matter what I've been dealt with in life right now. I knew I had faith. I'm like, I know I'm going to recover. I know it's leading me somewhere. I don't have the end result yet, but at least how I've processed it for me physically, mentally, emotionally, it's been a very enlightening and beautiful journey, but very, very hard. And I can see how people can deviate from that path. And also taking responsibility for not placing that on anybody else because I'm justified. I can go and treat people poorly right now because I have the right? Because I've been treated like that and I can go and do the same. No, it's not because it's between you and your higher self, whatever you want to call it, between you and your morals, between you and your values. And what do you do with that? You either betray yourself and you're going to go do the same thing that you've been taught by conditioning by others, or you choose a different stance and you go out there and you continue doing good no matter what. And I really love this poem of Mother Teresa, Final Analysis. I don't know if you're familiar or not, but it's between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. It's a beautiful poem. It's a beautiful description. And talking about that, you still have to rebuild, even if it's broken. You still have to forgive no matter what's been done, right? It's because it's not between you and this people. It's between you and God anyway. And I think if we turn to that, you don't have to call it God. It doesn't matter what you believe in. But you do have that higher space, that higher stance within yourself that you know is good. You know it's on point. You know it has values and morals that are that are right, that are good for you. And this is the place that we have to understand is between me and this higher place in my life that I know I'm on the mission no matter what's been done to me. And I'm going to continuously do the best that I can to navigate that and still continue being good. And I think this is the ultimate testament to yourself and your growth and your development to choose that high road. Is it easy? No. And I've had this taste of like, I want to curse everybody right now. Done. And I know it's going to take place because I know, but I will never do that. I never even allow myself to think negative thoughts about someone. I don't want to. For what? Because thoughts materialize and that's not who I am. And it doesn't matter what's been done to me. Do I learn a lesson from this? Of course. I'm not going to put myself in the same situation. Now my intuition is sharper, but I still not allowing myself to go and treat people how I was treated just because I have this resentment and pain and hurt. And so it's been quite an interesting journey.
No, 100%. Absolutely. I mean, I can't. Yeah, yeah. A few years ago, right? And I learned a hard lesson on this. I'm sitting down at Waffle House, and I don't know if Florida has any Waffle Houses, but North Carolina we do. And I'm sitting there eating, and somebody says, because we were looking at the news, and it said something about somebody getting charged with armed robbery of this, that, and the third, so on and so forth. And the comment was made, well, I would never do that, right? And I'm like, I can't say I would never do that. If I put myself in that person's shoes, potentially I might have done the same thing. I don't know. I don't know, right? Because I don't know all the factors that go into play there. And I share that because you mentioned a lot of good stuff. when things are when just because bad things happen to us, people snap on us, people, I mean, you're talking about these fraudulent and fake relationships, people are trying to use us, things like that. You know, my job isn't to give the same thing back.
Mhm.
That's it's I'm far from that. You know, I always teach patients that, we're one of the only species who cannot harm itself. We're biologically wired to not harm one another, but yet we do. And I'll have patients try to challenge me all day. Well, we do. We have all these things that's going on in the world, blah, blah, blah. I get that. I get that 100%. But let's look at how come we create that atmosphere, right? Because it's not just, you know, I want to harm somebody. No, no, there's a lot of factors that go into play. And
Mhm.
so part of that idea or part of those factors is the fact that I have to create an atmosphere of dehumanization of another person.
Yeah.
I'm dehumanizing them. I am objectifying them. I'm saying that they can be built or they can be tore down. And that's totally within my job to do. Right. Yet, and well, not yet, but and in that dehumanization process, you're no longer a part of the human species. You're not a part of the human race. You're just an object. Therefore, I have no compassion for you. Therefore, I have no empathy for you. Therefore, I have no love, no honor, no respect, no loyalty, integrity, dignity to
Mhm.
you as a human person, right? To you as part of being the human species.
Yeah.
And so, because I'm taking all of those things away from you, mentally, in my mind, I'm not saying I'm taking it away from you specifically, like
Mhm.
your no, no. I'm doing that in my mind. Therefore, I'm creating the atmosphere and the opportunity for me to harm you. And not just me, because if I'm putting it out there in the world, whether it's social media, whether it's in the middle of a Walmart parking lot, Walmart store, what have you,
Mhm.
other people are influenced by every single factor that, or whether it's your side or my side. And so we create this, and I'm gonna use the word beautiful because it is a beautiful. It not in the sense that it's marvelous and it's great, but no, no, beautiful as far as how you describe it. This beautiful atmosphere for all of these things to occur.
Mhm.
You also create the opportunity of hopefully somebody can come in and reignite the humanization process. So you have it on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it starts with us first and foremost. And I really love to see when there's this beautiful metaphor that Wayne Dyer talked a lot about of an orange. If we squeeze an orange, what's going to come out of it? Orange juice, right? It doesn't matter who is squeezing that. Either you're gonna do it in the morning, I'm gonna do it at night, I'm gonna do it when I'm PMSing, right? It's gonna come out what's inside that thing. We call it orange. There's a lot of names for that, right? But then if we extend that and someone is squeezing you, someone is squeezing me, it's the person who cuts me off on the traffic. If I get pissed off, it has nothing to do with them. That being feeling pissed off is what's inside. Why is it there? Sometimes we just need this little, the icing on top of the cake to really blow up, but it's a minor thing. And then we lose our composure with our loved ones, with our pets, with our, friends. We have to realize that it's our responsibility if we have something inside, just like you said, right? Whatever we're cultivating internally, well, whether it's I'm withdrawing love from them that I can give them. Why do I want to deprive them of that? Because that's a hurtful kind of act as well. Even though they may not know about it consciously or openly, why do I want to do that? What's preventing me from sharing that love? What's lacking in me that I don't want to give it to that person? And we know that the more we practice that, the better it gets. And if we don't have anything inside of ourselves that is toxic, then we begin to again radiate in a different way. Energy is real, right? We have different frequency. It's not even about any magical unicorns, rainbows. It's a real deal. We are vibrating. And sometimes we're vibrating much higher. Like Dr. Joe Dispenza, he does a lot of retreats where people measure the electromagnetic field when people begin to meditate, and it's changing. We don't have to believe in magic or miracles to know that energy is real. And the way we think, the way we operate, we're benefiting from that most first and foremost. And so I think starting point is understanding what else do I have inside but love. I've heard this I would say it's a story, it's also from Wayne Dyer, but he said that people came to this guru in India. And they said, Master, they were interviewing him. They're like, well, tell me, what do you guys have that we don't have, we normal folks? What do you have unconditional love that we don't have? Or what is else do you guys have that is different from us? And the sage said, no, we have unconditional love and you have unconditional love too. The only difference is that this is the only thing we have. So we have to remember that we may have an accumulation of different emotions and traits and things, but we also have there that fountain of unconditional love. But it's our choice whether we accumulate a lot of other things along with that, or we choose to really cleanse ourselves first from all of these painful things or desires to hurt people or do whatever that is. Because again, if we're honest, we all are facing certain moments in life when we think about that. Yes, do I practice? I never think bad about other people, but sometimes I do want to put everybody who ever harmed me in front of myself in a line. Take Kalashnikova, right? We're gonna take any type of thing to make that justice. But then when I get out of it, I'm like, okay, stop. No, that has to be cleansed. I don't want to have that in me. Why do I want to have even imagery of any type of violence or any negative things in me? And I'm only saying that because I'm honest. And when people say, well, I'm unconditional love. No, no, we have a lot of things in there and unconditional love as well. And keeping just that, it's a lot of work that none of us in modern world are capable of doing right now because we're overstimulated. There's a lot of factors. And so being honest with ourselves, because the moment I say, I don't have that in me, then that thing begins to affect you without you knowing it. And so we have to be very honest, brutally honest and aware, like you said again, you spoke about awareness, to be able to recognize when certain things resurface and see if we're trying to justify it and make it normal, or we're saying, oh, I don't want to have that. Let me sit with myself and work on this, see where it's coming from, what happened that I carry this emotion on me. Let me process that and work on it. That's exactly why my practice is every night on my knees, praying, going through meditating, all of whatever I'm doing there. There's a lot of things that are happening. But for me to reprocess anything that was showing up through the day so that I don't carry this energy forth. I don't want to go to sleep with that. I want to make sure that at least I'm becoming more aware of where I need to dig. Is it always resolved during that nightly ritual? No. Sometimes it requires me a little more time to really figure out what's going on and integrate that into reality, into my life, because understanding that doesn't make it integrated into how I treat others the next day. And so becoming honest and observing of what's happening and how I can move forward, it's a crucial path. Just like with workouts, I always give this comparison. I don't work out once and then I'm like, I have a killer body. No, I have to do it multiple times. And it's a lifestyle, right? It's a lifestyle. It's not something that I do for like a diet for a certain period of time. And we all know diets don't really work very well because the moment you go back on what you were trying to escape from, you gain that weight back. And with exercise, it becomes the same. It's a lifestyle. So is navigating the inner experiences because the troubles will hit the fan many times in our life and it's not never going to stop. Even if you process something horrible, I know this year took me out, but I also know new experiences will be coming, whether it's in a month, in a year, in 5 years, but it's going to be there. And we are not, nobody is safe from that. But we get stronger in navigating it and cleansing this inner state so that not only we don't carry this negative feelings, emotions, and aspects of ourselves, but also we don't give it to other people around us. And I think this is the most beautiful thing, but very, very hard to, complete, very hard to stay on track with because again, it's a mental thing. Like, well, I don't see it. So people are like, it's fine. I don't have to do meditation today. No, we actually have to. We have to because otherwise we're going to be overly influenced by everything that's happening, filled with emotions, resentments, and all this negative stuff. And it's going to bleed out. We can either radiate with what we have inside or we can bleed out with what we have inside. But we have to choose. And the choice would always be ours, no matter what they did.
Yeah, no, 100%. I absolutely agree. And you keep talking about something and for my mind is just completely obsessed over this, right? But oh, there's no but, and it's a Cherokee proverb that speaks about the two wolves inside of us, right? Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It's sweet, and y you mentioned that, meditation is very important, and so whether you meditate, I mean, there's hundreds of forms of meditations, and so but let's put these 2 things together, right? And this is my interpretation, because when I think of the question, "Well, how do I cultivate what's inside of me?" Right? Well, if you look at the Cherokee proverb, if you look at everything that we've been talking about, including what you were just saying, if I am meditating or just waking up in the morning, and that's when I do a lot of my meditational stuff, spiritual stuff, I literally have to reflect on, like, what am I going to do that's good today, or how am I going to integrate or cultivate such and such today. And it's literally like, am I putting out positive energy or am I putting out negative energy? Which one do I want to tap into today? And yes, throughout the day I might have negative energy that I release. Why? Because I'm a human being. I'm supposed to make mistakes. I'm supposed to get angry. I'm supposed to feel sad, get jealous, guilty, happy, all of these things, right? I'm supposed to feel all of those emotions. It's part of human nature. But even during the midst of all of that, am I still tapping into this inner resource, as you said, and allowing myself to continue to put forth, the good fruit, the good wolf, and
Mhm.
this positive energy? Am I trying to radiate all of this outward? So my question to you is the same that I just started with. What is the starting point for cultivating this positive energy, or cultivating this, or feeding this good wolf that's within us all?
I would say, and I'm gonna go a little scientific on here, is to understand how our body biologically operates as well in order to understand what's happening in our brain, why we feel again when we're angry, when we're hurt, we have cortisol and adrenaline. Right? The moment we have experiences in our life that are triggering the feelings of not being safe, because again, if somebody hurts you, you're unsafe naturally. When we're unsafe, we're going into anxiety state. It's sympathetic arousal, sympathetic dominance, meaning we're only operating the survival response, whether it's fight or flight, we're getting nervous. And when we have a lion, we're going to say so. If I have a lion sitting next to me, and that's what happens when sometimes people cut me off on the street, per se. I know a lot of people in Florida can relate. I used to be one of those people. It took me years to put that at zero. Now I don't care. You can cut me off unless I'm hormonal. Sometimes I can go that route that way, but I know how to navigate it now. Before I had road rage, truth in the past, not anymore, because again, it took a lot of years to work on that. But when we have this lion sitting next to us, the only thing we can think about is survival, meaning we're going into sympathetic dominance and our neocortical function goes down, meaning we cannot think straight because our body is not meant to get creative when we have a lion sitting next to us. And unfortunately, we go into this very, very neurotic state very often throughout the day because, of course, it's everybody else's fault. It's the traffic fault, it's my boss fault, it's my coworker's fault, my parents' fault, my spouse fault, my kids' fault. We can find a lot of people that are hurting you in a way that's why you are like this bitter and resentful and anxious, right? So it's overstimulation that happens in ourselves. So when we go for meditation, we just have to understand that the moment we begin to detach from the mind that's overly stimulated. And again, the fact that we have the phones, I have almost every single client that I've seen who's saying, well, I have ADHD. Everybody likes to hide behind that label. Well, technically, if I look at DSM-5, I also have ADHD, but I don't. Sometimes I have lack of discipline and sometimes I stay a lot on my phone that's producing this fast pace kind of circling my mind. I get too much information. The speed of it is very, very fast. So yes, our mind begins to think in those terms, not because you have ADHD, because you're conditioning yourself to have this type of speed. And then we're not making it work. So I think number one is again, learning to slow down, to analyze what from a day to day and how much time I spend on my phone on certain tasks? Do I practice balancing out? Do I slow down at certain parts of the day? And we have to practice that in order for our mind to begin to view situation in a different way. Because if I'm constantly spinning in this very, very fast type of pace, I'm not going to be able to see creatively what I can do differently because it's an impulse control problem, right? Because sometimes at night when I'm sitting, I don't touch the phone after 9 o'clock. If I only even text, it's rare unless I turn on the music that I have to pray with, stretch with, whatever the case. And I'll be sitting outside just trying to contemplate before going to bed. And suddenly I'm grabbing my phone and I'm opening it. And I'm in shock how quick that happens just because throughout the day we touch our phones way too much. So I have to put it down. And to me, this fact that I'm just grabbing the phone, I don't want to look at it, but it's an automatic thing when we get bored because we need to put some other, we're uncomfortable being slowed down. We need constant stimulation. And even that awareness is like, okay, because if we have that stimulation, we're not able to see where can I do it differently? In what way? Let me reflect back on my day and say, okay, did I act from the place of integrity? Did every step that I had was from a higher space? I was able to navigate and I did exactly how I wanted to address it. And I wasn't under the impulse control problem, what I just acted out. I just reacted to something. And observing that, becoming aware, okay, you know what? I want to deal with this differently next time. And you begin to create a plan for yourself of how to address that the next time when it shows up. Let's say, wow, I got really pissed off when somebody cut me off on the street. Why? Let me explore that. Let me dig deeper into it. That's how I had to navigate it before for myself. Exploring what is the way for me to not react to this like that. Exploring what makes me, what meaning do I give to that, right? How do I address it? It was a lot of work and it was a lot of years of changing that, but also slowing down as an integral part of that. Because we need to first reflect back on where we did these little errors. Where did that happen? But we have to be honest. If you say, no, I'm doing great. When I worked in rehabilitation clinic and rehab, I had people who were like, okay, well, let's measure on a scale from 0 to 10. Where are you in emotional and mental state? They're like, oh, 10 out of 10. I'm like, damn, I'm only at like 6 for myself and I do regular work, So sometimes it's mind blowing how people can view themselves differently without really being honest about it. And I think getting honest with yourself, you don't have to share it with anybody, but you have to share it with yourself and say, okay, you know what? I don't want to act like that anymore. And then see why that happened. But yeah, that's the starting point is slowing down and getting bored from certain things in order for your mind to start addressing those little issues that went wrong throughout the day, reflecting back. Even if you just reflect back, you don't have to. I mean, I recommend and prayer and meditation. Again, prayer doesn't have to be religious at all. It's just connecting with your higher self. But I think that slow down moment when you don't allow the factors from the outside, the social media, the news, your relatives, your coworkers, to penetrate you in this present moment because we can be sitting here, but you may have, or I may have a lot of different things about the clients and who said what and social media, somebody making a comment and this and that. It doesn't exist in this space and we're wasting our energy if we are elsewhere but here. And so cultivating that time when we can sit back and really be present. This is number one task because it's almost never possible right now. We're constantly on the go. So I think this is I know I went long in explanation, but I think the first thing is to slow down and learn to be still, at least for a short period of time. That's all you need. Get yourself 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You can say, I don't have 5 minutes a day. You can't say that. It's impossible. But that 5 minutes, if you put your phone away and just scan, where will your mind go? Can you stay in one subject? Can you start saying one mantra and say it for 5 minutes without thinking about anything else? And I guarantee you can't. I guarantee, because it takes a long time to practice that so that you can actually be present with one aspect. And I know that because I'm practicing it and I'm not every time I'm able to stay on point with that. We're highly destructible and we have to be honest about that too. But if we're not, we're going to be lying to ourselves. We will never get to the place we want to be at. So it's a game with yourself, but you have to win. And if you learn to break yourself down, then life will never do no damage.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I couldn't have said it any better. And I will say this, and I'm gonna probably catch some heat on this, and I'm cool with that if I catch some heat on this. I think ADHD and borderline personality disorder are way, way overdiagnosed. Way more than what it actually needs to be diagnosed and what it actually probably is truly prevalent in society. That's my personal opinion. Um, and I think you're right too, where, we have my experience when I was really like doing, different types of meditation, right? Man, I read in the book, if you start meditating, start slow and then work your way up. And it took me forever to get up to where I could just meditate for like 2 to 2.5 minutes. And, for the most part, I mean, but my brain will go, and then I'll have to reel it back in, and then, all right, but it took, man, a long time. And I think I started off at like 10 seconds, 20 seconds every day. Stop for 10, 15, whatever seconds. I do that for a week. Next week, I'd bump up to like 30 seconds, do that for a week or two. 45 seconds, do that for a week or two. Uh, I mean, I got to a point where in 2.5 minutes, depending on how deep of a meditation piece I can go into, I I would literally fall asleep during meditation because of like that's how calm I was. But 2.5 minutes was my max, was my absolute max. And then after that, it was just done for.
Mhm.
And we have to be comfortable with being present. Yes, I get it. Being bored, setting the phone down, turning the TV off, shutting the computer down, all of that creates boredom. I get
Mhm.
that. But then I always ask, right? Because everybody, when I ask people, well, how often do we not like boredom? Do we feel uncomfortable with boredom? Every hand in the room will go up, and I'm like, okay, well, let me ask you this. When's the last time you ever in your life ever experienced complete peace? No hands will go up. Nobody will raise their hand. I mean, the common theme is, well, never. Okay. So why not take boredom, right? Instead of looking at it as a trigger, because I disagree with boredom being a trigger for drug use or substance use or any type of mental health diet, making a mental health diagnosis worse. I am absolutely, and I'm probably one of the few therapists and people who work in the field that believe this. I don't think boredom's a trigger. Unlike you, I think boredom, we have to learn how to cultivate all of this stuff. So I always challenge people, always tell people, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Like kick back, relax. Throw a movie on, go to sleep, take a nap, go for a walk, something. You don't always have to be doing something. You don't
Yeah.
always have to be doing something. Like take that time, that bored moment or those moments of boredom and enjoy it. Because that is a time of what I describe as complete peace. You have absolutely nothing going on that is harmful or that is even helpful in that moment, potentially. Right? Like it's your time. Make it about you. Enjoy the mess. There's nothing wrong with taking boredom and saying, okay, I'm going to take me a nap then. I'm going to kick back, relax, and take me a There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You're not going to be reacting to any traumatic triggers, right? In that moment. So you're not going to be having to potentially have to deal with getting sent to an emergency department for evaluation. I mean, if you're a speed demon like me, you're not going to be getting a ticket for speeding because you're literally relaxing. You're taking this moment and relaxing. And if you feel like you're in a manic state, or you have all these hormones like yourself going on, right?
Mhm.
Like it gives a time for your physiology to even
Mm.
work toward resetting itself, or even, and I shouldn't say resetting itself, but kind of being from here to like here, right? Like let's be here,
Yeah.
and it gives us that moment. Gives us that moment. So a lot of the stuff you're saying, absolutely. I think, and I think that we've gotten away from a lot of that as a society in as a whole. If we look at our ancestors, and then I'm gonna throw it back in your court. If we look at our ancestors, our ancestors didn't have Apple phones, Android phones, computers. If depending on which era you go back to, they could buy a any color model Ford they wanted to, as long as it was black, right? There and before that they had to ride horses. It took them months to get across from coast to coast. There wasn't this era of go, 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 go. Whereas it's like, okay, cool. We have to get there. It's going to take us time to get there. I think we have to really learn how to make ourselves inter- internally relax. And it's
Yeah.
learning those simple processes that go into
Yeah.
play there.
Absolutely. But it's again, it's extremely hard because we're conditioning ourselves, right? Our mind functions in a certain speed and everything else is feeds into it. And then our brain has brain waves, right? It's all science. We're not talking coming down to science again. And brain waves, right? When we're just born, Joe Dispenza talks about it beautifully in many of his books. When we're born, we have the delta wave, right? When we're only sleeping, then waking up to just eat and go back to sleep. Then we're going into theta state, and that is our subconscious, approximate from about a year to about 3.5 or so. And that's where we accumulate a lot of things. That's where we acquire this map of life from our parents because we're soaking in information. It's not about what we hear, it's about everything we're witnessing, we're modeling, right, behaviors of adults. I remember my mom back in Russia, actually, my mom was here now with me for a few months, but she would tell me, Alisa, you can't go outside without a scarf, you're going to get sick. Well, guess what? I'm in Florida in the middle of July, June, and I'm still wearing scarves. Yes, I want to believe it's for fashion purposes, but in reality, in the back of my head, I feel much more secure that I'm not going to get sick, even though I'm not afraid of that in sunny Florida, right? That's how we accumulate a lot of things, and that's subconscious and theta. Then alpha, it's for kids from about 3.5 to about 7 or so. Before they go to school, they're creative. That's when ideas come forth. And we have the same alpha brain waves when we're painting, writing, something more contemplative. Even if you're in the shower, you get new ideas, right? Because you're in that relaxed space, just like you're saying, to slow down, to give yourself that time. And then we have the beta, and beta can be low, medium, and high. Low, it's us talking about something, right? We're friendly, it's a discussion. Then medium, when we have to perform, we have to, let's say, give a speech, or maybe we have to present something to an audience. That's a little bit more intense, but we're still functioning in like a normal kind of phase. And then we have high beta. High beta is when the lion is about to eat you, or somebody cuts you off on the street, or things of that nature. And right now we're going in high beta, or even function in high beta. You're looking at reels. I've seen people looking at, reels and, God forgive me, some political stuff, and they go off the rails from that. They're giving themselves a space of being like they're about to be eaten by a lion. So we are conditioning ourselves to function that high beta. Why meditation doesn't work? Because we have to get down from high beta to theta brainwave, which is close to delta, on a sober mind, an active mind, and we're not able. It's too many layers down. We're not able to come down because when you live in a survival mode, you can't think straight. So how are you supposed to get bored and be present when you're about to be eaten by a lion? How much can you relax and keep back when you have lion sitting next to you? So again, understanding, number one, what kind of sources of information are impacting you? Where do you get all of this cortisol and adrenaline? What's creating this level of intensity in you? And then, do you really need it or not? Or what can you do about it? Because again, every single emotion and sensation has a function, right? Of course, we have anxiety so that we can navigate threatening situations, not to live in it expecting the worst out of your relatives at the family gathering. Because people, they say about 60% of Americans are dreading family gatherings that are coming up soon. 60%. It's supposed to be the time of joy. People are dreading it like it's going to be a war. It's just mind blowing, right? But understanding that and then practicing different ways. Okay, what are some of the tricks that I can use to slow down? And that can come again. What I'm teaching people, just like I explained right now, the brainwaves. Brainwave meditation music can be a little bit of a cheat code for this. Because what meditation is, you need to slow down your mind, which we know is very hard. And when we slow it down, the brain follows, right? The brainwave activity is changing. If I'm utilizing brainwave meditation, it works directly with your brain. So it's slowing down the brain and then your mind will begin to also slide down a little bit. So if people need some starting point, that can be a useful thing. But first, again, assessing properly what are some of the things that contribute to my level of stress. And then question, do you want to continue or not? Because again, you're entitled to your decisions. That's your right. Even your right for bad decisions. I'm not here to change that, but everybody has to decide for themselves. What do you want to carry with themselves? Do you want to be pissed off every day? I have no problem with that. That's your life. You're damaging your system, not me, not those people you're pissed about, right? You're only damaging yourself. Anger is only damaging you. And that's what I've learned when working on my road rage. Because I understand I'm a normal human. So me going and wanting to bump into them and into their career is not going to be smart. And I would like to see myself as a person who is smart enough to not do that kind of thing. So again, so what can I do with the anger that I'm building, getting pissed off at someone? It's not serving me very well. But you have to be honest to see that because I'm also justified. Look at this dumbass who is getting in front of me. Look at them. They don't know how to drive. Yes, they don't. But I'm only damaging myself with this. So I think that again, getting honest about that, and then I began to put it into humor because it was hard to manage this kind of startle response that I had because initially I would be going into this frustration. And then I started putting that into a joke. I'm like, well, how dare they get in front of me on my road? I'm the queen here. How they don't see me? I mean, it sounds ridiculous, right? But what do I expect of people? This is not my street. I don't create the rules for here. People will drive the way they want, but I have the right to respond back to it the way I want to. And then it took a next step. Again, it all were stages of working on that. And in the end, I was like, you know what? Maybe they're preventing me from getting into a car crash in front. So you know what? I'm going to be grateful for every experience, even if it's slowing me down for a minute or two. And that's nothing really. We get this stuff over a minute of time. You can arrive a minute earlier, but be all wound up and being angry and pissed off and all of that. And then you place that into the next thing you do, right? So there's so many kind of little moments that we have to learn to catch ourselves and slow down. It's so important. I can't even overemphasize that. It's so important with people because we don't see mental space, because we don't see our spiritual self, our sacred self. We're not putting enough of time into it. And yet we go to work every day to make money because we know it costs a living, right? The cost of living, we have to make money to survive, to thrive, hopefully. So we do that every day, but we don't attend to our mental space that actually will be more effective and creating that better future for ourselves. So it's like, again, we have to be absolutely ready for that change and understand the little blind spots that we may have and say, you know what? I don't think that's working for me very well because we also have to see, is it serving me in this situation? The answer is no, then let's work on changing that, but it's going to be your own decision.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things I, always get, always, get questioned in group is, about all these emotions that we have, and I love what you shared, eh, because I think you're sitting in on my group therapy sessions, okay? I need you to stop. Uh, because, I mean, yes, right? Like, every single emotion we have is absolutely normal, natural, human. I'm supposed to experience some anger, jealousy, guilt, sadness, crying, depression, loneliness, like happiness. Mirth is a new one. Uh, yeah, I mean, all of these things, right? Anger, everything. I'm supposed to feel it all. And so patients always will say, well, I don't like feeling like this. Okay. Well, too bad. Welcome to being human. Welcome to the human race. I mean, you're not going to get it away from it. You're not going to escape it. That's number one. Number two is, uh, I have to recognize and allow myself that I am mad, I am sad, I am happy, I am whatever. Add to that list. And allow myself to feel that. Allow myself to go through and have that experience. And I also have to recognize, and this is step three, is if I am mad, I do not have the right to take my anger out on anyone else. And, um, like, it's okay for me to think about putting somebody's car on flats, right? But it's not okay if I actually go and do it. There's a two different concepts, you know? And I think we've gotten to a point where, we're just so afraid. right? And no, 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 no. Not just afraid, but as you said, I am running and I am fearful and I'm angry, yet there's no lion hiding in the bush, right? And that's not normal. And it's learning to how to uncondition ourselves that if I am anxious and always afraid or always angry, right? Like there's something internal that needs to be looked at because if there's a lion, that's one thing. If there's a bear, if there's a wolf, shoot, even a rattlesnake, whatever, like, right? Like that's natural. That's a natural human response. But yet I'm living in a life that I'm anxious, I'm fearful, I'm angry, like I'm all of these things that are just constantly there. And I'm not allowing myself to experience the human race, the emotions of being human. But because I'm always constantly here and I'm never
Yeah.
over here. And so, what do you feel like? And this is my educational question for you. What do you feel like is one of the first things that need to be done to help get to this from here to here? Because I want to see unconditioning occur, right? Because if we stay here, that fight or flight is always on. The physiology is always amped up. It was always stimulated, as you said. I absolutely agree with that. So what's the first step to go from here to over here?
Yeah, I think it will start, in my personal opinion, is self-discipline. That's number one, is to really understand what I'm spending my days on and seeing again everything. I always ask people to acknowledge present moment and understand that everything I'm doing right now, this moment right now, is predicting my life in a year. If you're watching reels, doom scrolling, what your future will look like in a year, tell me, right? If you're binge watching TV, what your life will be like in a year. If you're studying or you're doing research or you're writing or you're painting or you're trying to do service for someone, what your life will look like in a year. Every step right now and becoming very disciplined on what am I creating with my schedule? What am I doing? I have to be very conscious about it because we always have this beautiful time that we call tomorrow. Like, well, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, I'll start tomorrow. Start right now. Right now. Go and do it right now. You want to read a book? Go and read those 3 pages right now. Just 3 pages. Start small. 10 pages. I have a lot of people who are like, I just can't seem to start reading again. Well, here's a book. Go ahead. I'll wait 5 minutes. I'll wait for 5 minutes. Go read. What's preventing us again is just we're creating more obstacles than there actually are. And one interesting thing, I know there was conducted research in 2010, again, it's been a little bit of time, but they said that they looked at our ancestors, our grandparents, and us, and our grandparents had much more traumas in their life, and yet we are much more traumatized. We live in the safest time, even though we are perceiving danger everywhere. It's actually just perceived, not real danger. And sometimes identifying too, am I in this exacerbated space because it's real danger to my life or it's perceived danger? And a lot of people can say it's a perceived danger. The danger actually is not there. There's no rattlesnake. There's no tiger. There's no lion, right? We don't have to survive. We actually are very, very comfortable. Our bellies are full for a majority of us, at least in this country. We have water, clean to drink. We can go and take a shower right now. Our needs are met, and yet we're creating more problems to solve because, again, we get stuck in this loops. So the starting point is, again, becoming very aware of what we're spending our time on and understanding that every activity is creating our future and then creating a plan. It's like, okay, you know what? I will dedicate this time for this. This one is for this. I'm going to sit and really try to understand what's going on. If you need help understanding your mind, because again, how we perceive reality, this perceived danger probably is built on those core beliefs that we have, whether it's childhood related, whether it's some traumatic experiences as adulthood. We need to understand what certain things mean to us and then digging into it and saying, why am I giving so much attention or intensity to this specific thing that happens? And again, that's going a little bit deeper, but in general, you still have to dedicate time for that because if we're constantly numbing our brain with scrolling, but you're not gonna get to the truth, and you're gonna be more conditioned into that, and like you said, we need to uncondition that. So taking a break, see if you can stay off your social media for a week. Give yourself just a week without going there, and see what you can do instead, and see how you're gonna feel in a week. Because I definitely know I have those moments when I'm going on, if somebody sends me stuff and then you just continue going, I have those moments. But I'm very conscious when I know it's taken a hold on me and I'm not in control of that. I don't like that. So I'm then pulling back and I'm reestablishing, checking in with myself. But you have to have that self awareness and not justify saying, well, it's fine. It's only 3 hours that I'm here, or whatever the case, whatever people say. You can justify it. But if you decide to justify it, that's fine. Again, everybody has a choice for how they live a life. But I think taking responsibility for your own action and your own state of being is also a very, very important part of the process. What helped me because unfortunately, or I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, but I like to push people because when I see potential, I can't stand when people are wasting it. So sometimes I know I can be a little more pushy, especially working with my clients because I know what they're capable of, especially when we're stuck. And I keep forgetting that again, everybody has different time frame. But sometimes when I look at people that are really disappointing, not in my clients, I love my clients, but anybody in life, right? When you see and like people just don't grasp it, I have this phrase when I've learned, and it gave me a lot of peace. Not everybody came to this earth to evolve. Some people are here to show you what's going to happen if you don't. And understanding that everybody has their own lessons to learn, they have their own time, they have their own life, and have different lessons from the whole thing, their mission, their purpose. And sometimes we're trying to interfere with their karma when they have to be responsible for that and solving that. Even though we may want it, sometimes we have to let it go and give people freedom to choose for themselves because no matter what I try to do, if they're not ready to change, nothing's going to happen. I'm going to be wasting my energy on this. But if someone is coming and they're hungry, let's do it. And I see how much impact even what we do together, what the person can do when they're open and ready for that change. Again, if you're not there yet, that's okay. I've been in a victim mode before for years, long time ago. I've been a victim. I've liked that space, I guess, because I stayed there for so long, for whatever reason, I had to be there for that time. And then I said, it's not giving me anything because it's the same story for 2 or 3 years now. So let me go and try to solve it. And the moment you open yourself up, the thing that helped me was, what if what I believe in is not true? And then from that point, I began to unfold different things that, oh, I can actually shop for another perspective. Okay, so the world doesn't have to be a mad world and nobody can be trusted. Oh, I can actually establish connections, right? But the moment we start challenging those beliefs, your beliefs are not true, even if they feel true. And we forget that not all of the beliefs are true, right? I mean, again, placebo effect is real. Whatever you believe in, you're going to experience. But you don't have to believe in that. There's other unlimited ways of what you can believe in. And I think sometimes it's taking a step back and diving deeper, but for that, you still have to have time dedicated to that. Because if I'm always on the phone and Instagram or Facebook or whatever else, I'm missing the time where I can do that self reflection. So I would say starting point is again that self discipline and understanding really what those things that you do, how they enrich your life, how they contribute to your growth. Is it doom scrolling? Is it contributing to your growth? If you say yes, we have nothing to talk about. For you, it's a yes. Okay, cool. Then why are you here? you know, why are you seeking something else? And so again, everybody has different ways of looking at that, but everybody has that's a freedom of choice. Free will is you're choosing how you view everything and what's happening to you. But you're not going to choose the next thing that will show up in your life as a lesson. So you have to navigate that, and it's up to us how we perceive it. So there's so many things from what to start, but I think again that self discipline is number one.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more with that, and yes, you are right, and the way I what I like to teach people and talk to people about, like, it is okay that for you to do all this work, for you to do all this changing, right? For you to implement all this stuff, and then let's say you want to, go out there and treat yourself, right? Like even myself, like I mean, I've changed up a lot of the stuff that I eat, right? I rarely eat fast food. I rarely do this. I rarely do that. But once a month, I'll go out there and I'll order Domino's pizza. Why? Because I've made significant progress in my own diet and what I take. that it's okay. It's not going to harm me, right? And I'll go out there and I'll eat a Big Mac. Big Mac's my favorite from Mickey D's, and I'm telling you, they got it off. I mean, it is on point. But and it's okay to sit out to go and unless you got a food disorder or an eating disorder, don't listen to me on that. Please don't. But progress is progress, and you have to treat yourself throughout this. You can't just go out there head first into this whole new lifestyle and say, okay, because then you're going to get burned out because you're going to say, well, I'm not enjoying my life. I'm not enjoying this. I'm not, but that's okay. You have to do what works best for you. And so you're right. Even with exercising, you might go work out every day or 5 days a week, and then one week you just want to take a vacation and you're out of the country. Well, ask yourself, are you going to, if you don't have access to a gym, are you going to go out there and work out? No, but you might do something else like yoga in the bedroom when you first wake up or some type of meditation, right? There's
Mhm.
many ways to implement new lifestyle changes, whether it's with yourself, whether it's with others or what have you. It's neither here nor there. Treat yourself to something good, right? Spoil yourself. Oh, I love spoiling myself. Oh, man. Oh, I love spoiling myself. But, like, that's reality because recovery is recovery, regardless of whether it's recovery from drugs, mental health, trauma, or what have you. I mean, that's just my experience.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I think everything is good in moderation. I also don't think you should be going, especially if there's a lot of obstacles to that. I'm not saying I've put myself in the past in those very tight frames just because I was too hungry for change. And so I did go for 3 months. It was complete disconnection from anything I knew before. I don't recommend it. A lot of people will probably collapse from that. I don't recommend, again, it's hard. You have to be, again, I couldn't repeat that again for myself since 2013, I think it was, or 2012. That was the time of the change for me. But that created for me that self-discipline in being able to navigate my schedule and say, okay, I can go into that Instagram after I finish this hour of homework or whatever the case, whatever you're doing. Right. So again, I think rewards are great in whatever form. I love different things that I like to get for myself. But I have it in the schedule. I don't overdo it either. Everything is good in moderation. And creating just again, you don't have to start big with all of the hours going for meditation workouts because it's probably unrealistic. If I haven't worked out for a year in the past, then I'm saying I'm going to work out every single day. I'm going to get disappointed because I'm not going to be able to keep it up. I don't have the habits yet. Some people would be able. I'm not saying everybody will fail, but it's going to be very hard. But if you say, okay, I'm going to start, like you've said, with meditation, right? I'm starting with very small increments. And if you say I'm going to work out twice a week for 30 minutes, then even if I go over, I will feel over accomplished and it's going to make me feel good and give me more motivation to continue doing and scheduling next activity. But if I say I'm going to do 7 days and then after the second day I'm so sore I can't move and I have to skip it, then I'm like, of course I failed again. I didn't go on this and that. So starting small, it's always, and especially if we don't have that in our routine right now, but still you will have to dedicate time even if you have that reward system. Just again getting responsible for our own healing and improvement and just being mindful of that. But yes, I'm with you about the reward system for sure. And again, for me, diets never worked. I've tried. I just love different foods. Sweets were never my thing, speaking of food, right? But intermittent fasting worked magic for me, and that was the way that I found. But you have to try different things in order to understand what works for you, what doesn't, what feels right. And so you have your own way, your own set of skills and practices that will work specifically for you. And when I'm working with clients, we're trying to establish the small self-care routines for them. When it's funny, I'm like, well, I don't know if I can do it every day. I'm like, well, all you need is 5 minutes. I'm not asking you, it's going to be 15 minutes at night and maybe 5 or 10 minutes in the morning. You can't say, nobody can say, I don't have that time. I'm sorry, then you're just making excuses and you are entitled to that. But then don't come to me if you're not ready to put a little bit of time because the magic is not going to, I'm not a healer. I don't have a magic wand. In therapy, I never take credit for success or failure of someone. Maybe they're not ready, but I'm giving the same amount, the same passion, the same everything to everybody. Some people take it and after the second time me seeing them, They're like, "Oh my god, this worked so well. I've tried this." They were open, they were hungry, and they were ready for that change. So they got results. And I have clients with me for maybe for a certain period of time. They're like, "Well, I didn't have time." Okay, you didn't have 5 minutes yesterday. No, and this okay. What can I say? That's their life. That's how they view it. Then I don't have a magic wand. I can't. I wish I can help you else in other ways, but it's impossible. I'm not a magician. You are the magician though, and if you will be able to open yourself up to opportunities, seeing yourself different, seeing your routine different, you will get a very different result. But again, everybody has their choice, and I'm not gonna be fighting them on that, even though sometimes I try. I'm like, "But no, but you can do it. Let's look at it." And then I'm like, sometimes you're not ready. I wasn't ready for a while to change myself, so I can't even hold others accountable for that. But when I was ready, then suddenly things begin to show up that made such a big impact in my life. We just have to be open and ready for
Sounds like, that I need you as my therapist.
that.
Oh, lordy, no, I mean, no, you're absolutely right, and I know we're running short here, in tight on time here, but no, change starts with self-accountability, self-responsibility. I can't expect that my life to change, uh, and society is absolutely the one that's gonna change my life. No, that's not even nowhere near the truth. I mean, there's work that I have to put in too, because that's like if I'm waiting on society to change my life, right? Therefore, I'm waiting for McDonald's to stop selling Big Macs. I'm waiting for Domino's to quit selling sausage pizzas with the thick crust and onions on it. I'm waiting for Hardee's to stop selling the $5 bags. And I don't know. I'm just using different examples here.
I love it.
I'm waiting for the stores and restaurants to stop selling alcohol, like all of this stuff. No, no. Uh, um, I look at recovery as being, I'm left-handed, right? A left-handed living in this world. I have to adapt to a right-handed world, right? I have to
Yeah.
adapt. Not everything is made for a left-hander. I mean, there's so many pieces, there's so many firearm holsters, for an example, that I want. 99% of them are made for a right-handed person. I'm like, really? Really? So if I go buy a holster, I'm looking for like, I mean, just freaking long term, just for a left-handed holster. And most of the time I don't find one. And then if I ever do find one and it's for something that I have, oh yeah, I'll go ahead and pick it up. Why? Because I might not see one for another 6 months or another year. And so you're right. You know, recovery is my responsibility alone. And I can't go sit beside Alisa, and think that, oh, well, recovery is via osmosis.
Mm.
It doesn't work that way. That's not what recovery is. It's not what life is. And saying, oh my God, well, she's got all this great stuff going on. If I go sit beside her, her lifestyle might rub off on me. No, now you're talking about social relationships, which is a whole different ball game. And I know we don't have time for that, but that's a different ball game. That still is not osmosis,
Yeah.
because there's work that I have to do on my part.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a personal responsibility. And again, everybody's entitled to their opinion on how they should live a life. I just always ask people, like, hey, let's say they don't agree with what I'm saying. I'm like, that's great. And certain things I don't even try to explain because there's no point. But are you okay where you are? If you're okay where you are, why are we talking about this? Why are you here? And if you're not okay, okay, then you gotta learn to be open-minded because yes, you'll have to challenge yourself, but trust me, it's gonna be you will see the basis for what, let's say, I can bring to you because I love science behind every intervention I have. There's always science underneath that can support it. I'm not just giving something, oh, try this. It's gonna make you feel good. No, why is gonna make you feel good? Let's look at your brain and what's happening. All right, let's look at anxiety and what's happening. But you have to decide for yourself, is this the right time for that change? And if the time is not right now, it's okay. There is no blame game. There is none of that, no guilt tripping. Sometimes we have to stay in that place where we are. Again, I've been there. I don't have any problem with other people remaining in where they are as well. But come to me later when you're ready. Or if you are open to having just a conversation about it, it's not a debate. And if whatever you are practicing works for you, great. I had someone questioning me about spirituality and my beliefs and then asking me questions, but how you know? I'm like, look, I'm like, it works for me. And the way it works for me, the question that you have is that the way you view it is not working for you. You're why are you trying to attack me with that? I don't have any problem with my life. I don't have to question it. But again, everybody has their own kind of view of that specific subject. And sometimes shopping for different perspective is what we need. But again, everybody has the right for their opinion, even their opinion about me, about life, about the world, but it doesn't make it true. The world is not all bad, but if that's what I believe in, confirmation bias, I'll probably pull in information that supports that belief and will ignore everything else that doesn't, right? And some people are like, oh my God, the world is so beautiful. Some people are like, are you crazy? What are you talking about? Did you even look outside? It's like, well, yeah, there is a sun, there's birds, there's green. Yeah, but there's also this, that, and people hurting each other. Well, but let's step outside right now and see, is it really true? Not in your mind, not in your phone. Come outside and stand barefoot next to, on the grass and next to the lake or whatever the case. Go to the park and see, do you see that chaos right where you are in this present moment? And if the answer is no, okay, maybe it's not all bad. Maybe there are moments where you can find that stillness and you can find, and actually, in fact, with chaos usually comes that still point. With the vibrational, there was a beautiful book on tuning forks, and they say how they made this experiment with the sand, and when they do certain vibration, the sand goes into the center, and the closer to the center it gets, the more chaotic it gets, and then it reaches the point of stillness, complete zero, and that's where that peace is. But sometimes we have to go through this chaos in order to reach that still point and find a state. Oh, okay, that's where you go. That's where you go. But you have to put a lot of work and navigate a lot of chaos before you can reach that part. But you can appreciate that still point if you don't have the chaos. Because then you have like, oh, now I can exhale. Now I can finally like be where I'm meant to be right now. That's great. And guess what? It's not gonna last either. So nothing lasts. And the idea, like we started with again, human emotion, it's the idea that we get to experience all of those things and learn from them, not get stuck in them. Because nothing, just like our physical body can heal itself, right? It never remains with an open wound. So if the body has the intelligence and the wisdom, the consciousness to heal itself without us consciously doing it, just like digesting food, trusting our next heartbeat, trusting our next inhale. When people are like, I don't trust myself, I'm like, okay, so you're gasping for air anytime you have to take another breath. Oh, so you're trusting that your body will breathe, right? Okay. All right. So maybe you're trusting yourself a little more than what you believe in, right? Because again, if we're trusting in physiology, being able to, when I'm eating something, I don't question, I don't anticipate it coming out of my mouth again backwards, right? I have that trust that it's going to go down as it should. So again, this is another level of trust. So let's extend that a little bit. And rather than putting all this garbage in our mind, garbage in, garbage out, we have to learn to cleanse everything and again practice that realization that we can trust ourselves and there's ways to find that. And after we learn that, when we begin to trust ourselves, we begin to meet other experiences that may be more damaging, more intense, with in a different way, in a different presence. So we're not just losing our composure anytime something takes us off the balance, but we're having, just like we started, we're having that internal conversation first, negotiating. Okay, what do I do with that? But that requires level of understanding, awareness, and learning how to pause. And that pause comes from regular practice of sitting with yourself and detaching from the chaos you've created throughout the day. And then we're able to put that in action when we're faced with something that is about to take you off the balance. Then you negotiate and you address it differently. So this type of way of life, it's a lifestyle. It's not something you do once. Let me meditate this Sunday and then I'm going to have peace like the monks do. It doesn't work like that, right? You have to practice a lot to get there, and don't look at it as a punishment. We have to look at it as something that I will have to practice, just like recovery. I'm going to practice that until the rest of my life. If I would like to, again, live by integrity, live in sobriety, because I know what living in the other aspect in addiction is, right? It becomes that lifestyle. We don't expect, oh, I'm going to be sober for a week and then I'm sober forever. No, you have to always work at it. It's never ending. You're getting stronger at navigating certain things that resurface. So again, I think it's creating this type of what do you want to be? Who you want to be? How do you want to act? What morals? How do you want to show up in the world? And then doing taking the steps to navigating that and with many different strategies and routines and rituals. But again, it's a personal choice. Nobody can make you want that. And you have to be aware enough to see what's best for you and know where you want to go next and decide what's the next version of you will be like, because we change regardless. Life will change us, but we can either participate in it and choose in what way we change, or we let life just to change us. And sometimes we get bitter, sometimes we get better. Sometimes we're there to be healed, sometimes we're there to be killed. So again, there's going to be a lot of different ways of how life can go, but we can become active participants in that, even through the worst circumstances.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of things you know, that we can do in our own lives. And it really just starts with that internal self-reflection, as you have
Yeah.
said. And it takes work. It does. It's not always easy, and I always tell people, look at what you're currently doing right now. Look at how successful it is. And then, what is it going to take for you to get there? For you to change, right? What is it gonna take for you to change? And usually it's, what I have found to be true for the most part. Everybody's different, every situation and circumstance is different. But what I have found to be almost true across the board is it's gonna take it is the absolute complete opposite of what I'm doing right now. And, I mean, that's the feedback that I get from folks that I work with. And their responses is, "Oh, I did not realize that's all I had to do was stop doing this and start doing this. That's it. I mean, it's just that simple. But that goes back into the area of the brain, the frontal lobe, the frontal cortex, because that's where our decision making is. And as you said, recovery is recovery, and change is change, and it takes a lot of work to get there. It takes a lot of work to create change, or excuse me, to maintain change.
Mhm.
It takes constant work, so you're absolutely right. And I would love to be able to carry this conversation on for another 2, 3 hours. I could talk to you all day. Oh my God. I love talking to you. I absolutely love talking to you. So, but we have to wrap up because you have and you have appointments on your end. I have appointments on my end. So let's wrap up with 2 questions. Okay. Uh, what is one thing you want people to take away from this show? And what is your call to action?
So what I want people to take from the show, you have a choice. You have a choice in how you respond. You have a choice in how you feel. Definitely. You have a choice in how you think, even if it feels like it's conditioned and you have no control over it. You can gain control, and there is a choice of how you respond to life. And call to action is getting to know yourself. If you need extra help, reach out for help, but seek out options, seek out practices, try different things. If you don't try it, again, one of the things that I just triggers me a lot when people say, I've tried everything. No, if you would have tried everything, you would have found a solution. You haven't tried everything. Nobody tried it all. Okay. But we have to, again, sometimes it takes a long time to dig into it. So give yourself an opportunity, allow yourself to explore options and allow yourself to give it a shot, because you can change how you are and how you operate and your life altogether. After you change yourself, everything will shift as well. So good luck with that, and I'm there if you would like to. So anybody who needs a consultation, I'll be happy to provide that, and we can definitely connect. So yes.
And how can they contact you?
uh Through Instagram, I have Alisa_art, Facebook, Alisa Gracheva, Psychology Today. I have my profile there too. My website, www.since.life. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Miss Lisa, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
am humbled that we got to do this again. No, humbled. I am absolutely amazing. Thank you for coming on. I do
Thank you
appreciate it.
for thank you for having me.
Absolutely.